Thank you so much for that. Ehdottomasti ihana. The session today will be learning about the Finnish sauna from an international perspective. And as you likely have all seen, sauna is certainly on the rise outside of Finland, and there's much to do and much to say. We could not think of a better person to talk us through this than one of Finland's foremost sauna experts, Risto Elomaa, joining us live from Helsinki. Risto has been involved with sauna since the age of 1, if I'm not mistaken. From that point on, he has been an advocate of Finnish sauna, even starting a sauna group when he was 14 years old. Since 2010, Risto has been the president of the International Sauna Association. His important work has taken him to saunas and other forms of bathing culture from Finland to Japan and beyond. Risto is involved with the Sauna Aid organization, which you'll hear more about later as well. With that, I'd like to give a warm Sauna FFN welcome to Risto. Risto, tervetuloa ja take it away.
Kiitos. Thank you. And welcome all the sauna enthusiasts to this event. I'm going to talk a little about this International Sauna Association, and I hope that you are going to also ask questions, because my presentation cannot cover too much of what International Sauna Association has been doing and is doing. First, a little of my own sauna history, because that is probably explaining a little why I am in this position. So my grandmother took me 79 years ago to a smoke sauna when I was about 1 month old. That's I've been told. And my working life took me to different parts of the world, and I tried always to find interesting saunas whenever possible. And this has been then meaning that I have been really visiting saunas all over the world. And for example, when I was working in the middle of Africa, the first thing after moving there was to build a sauna. And when working 5 years in South Korea, I had an opportunity to get to know the sauna culture in that region, including also Japan, Australia, and New Zealand. At school, as Tommy already mentioned, we founded my first sauna club when I was really 14 to 15 years old. And some 45 years ago, I joined the Finnish Sauna Society in Helsinki. During the years, I have been, and I am a member or honorary member of nearly 10 different sauna organizations in different parts of the world. International Sauna Association came into the picture before the Helsinki International Sauna Congress in 2006. I was asked to help the organization of the Congress because of my German language skills. During the sauna trip of the Congress to Karelia, I had the opportunity to talk with several board members of ISA, and this contact continued. And in 2007, I was elected to the board, and as Tommy said, 2010, I became the president. The term of the president is 4 years, and I have been elected so that my 4th term ends in the end of 2026. First interest for cooperation around sauna and bathing in Scandinavia between Norway, Sweden, and Finland was there before already the World War II, but all that stopped because the war started. Finnish Sauna Society, by the way, had been founded in 1937, so before the war, but also the operations of Finnish Sauna Society were quite slow during the wartime. In 1947, the interest came up again, and Nordic Bath Committee was established in a loose form, and they organized some meetings. German Saunabund was founded in 1948-49, and they were interested also in international cooperation. and started that, for example, with Finland. Saunabund organized then in 1956 the first international sauna days in Bielefeld, Germany, and there were some 300 participants from 10 countries. There it was decided that an international sauna organization is needed, and then that it should be organized so that it can be founded during the next International Sauna Days in 1958 in Finland, hosted by the Finnish Sauna Society. And it was also agreed that the office should be in Bielefeld in Germany, and the president should be Dr. Werner Fritzsche, who was Mr. Sauna at that time. And he was from West Germany. And in August 1958, the first official sauna congress with some 100 participants from 8 countries was happening in Finland, and 21 presentations was given during that congress. And the International Sauna Society was founded, and it was Sauna Society at that time. Now today the name is Sauna Association because we are a little bigger. It was founded in August 8, and the bylaws were accepted. The office was confirmed to be in Bielefeld in Germany. Professor K.F. Hirvisalo was elected as the president, and he was the chairman of the Finnish Sauna Society at that time. Dr. Fritzsche from Germany, he was elected as the vice president, and secretary, etc. People were also from Saunabund and were working in Bielefeld. The activity of ISA was mainly around the congresses in the beginning, and they were organized in the beginning every 2 years and very soon every 4th year. In the beginning, they were mainly in Germany, where sauna research was very active. In the 6th Congress in Helsinki, 1974, Finnish Sauna Society was asked to look at the options to refound the organization so that it could be an international sauna society and could activate its operations. And Finnish Sauna Society was doing a great job and invited the key people to its own 40 years anniversary in Helsinki, 1977, to found the International Sauna Society again. This was happening in the meetings 22nd and 23rd of June. As the president was elected the chairman of the Finnish Sauna Society, Professor Minister Harald Teir, who is very well known in the sauna world still today, even though he died a long time ago, and vice president, again, Dr. Werner Fritzsche from Germany. The important thing was that the office was changed from Bielefeld, Germany, to Helsinki. And the Finnish Sauna Society was giving the facilities for archives, etc., to International Sauna Association free of charge as long as it is needed, meaning actually forever. The congresses have been then organized every 4th year, but also many other events have been organized together with the congresses. The congresses have been, besides Finland and Germany, also in countries like Austria, Netherlands, Switzerland, Czechoslovakia, and Japan. The presentations of the congresses are published either in a printed form as special books or in the International Sauna Archive until 1996, or later on as digital material. In the beginning, there was only few members in ISA. Today, the amount of members is over 30, representing over 20 countries. There has been during these years several members that have disappeared. And just now we are having discussions with some new sauna countries. And in this case, we have to remember that there are some members that we have been losing because of this situation, war situation here in Europe. For example, our member in Ukraine, their sauna was destroyed during the first week of the war when it started 3 years ago. And also the saunas in Mariupol, they were all destroyed during the war. So we don't have Ukraine as a member anymore. Then what is the purpose of the International Sauna Association? It's described in the bylaws in Article 4 and have been more or less the same from the first time when accepted in August 1958 in the first Congress. And it's practically saying something like this. With the assistance of supporters of sauna activities in various countries, the International Sauna Association shall pursue the goals of propagating the sauna and promoting its use at global level. All measures suitable to serve this goal shall be used, like acceptance, the sauna definition documented finally in Aachen, Germany on 6th of May 1999. To promote scientific studies of the sauna with aspects such as social history, folklore, medicine, economy, and technology, with special focus on the collection and compilation in archives containing the results of scientific studies, to disseminate facts and results on the sauna, its characteristics and its significance for its users, and to protect the sauna from adverse changes of any kind. And I think this is quite interesting thing also. The organization of the International Sauna Congresses shall also serve this goal, and it has been one of the most important goals. The International Sauna Association has the rights to the International Sauna Congresses, while the host country carries out the Congress. The country, which means the member in charge of the Congress, shall be determined by the Executive Board after the review of the applications received. The program of the Congress shall include issues of sauna research in areas such as folklore, medicine, law, business, and technology. The presentations are published in English and are available from ISA either free of charge or against a small fee. The congresses are organized every 4 years, as mentioned, and this first congress in Bielefeld, it's actually having the number 0 because the International Sauna Association was not founded when the first congress was happening. So the real first congress was organized in 1958. And after this, there has been congresses in different countries, and in average, there has been about 200 to 300 participants in each congresses, and totally from more than 35 countries. The amount of presentations is several hundreds together, and some of the books printed from the congresses are basic books for sauna research. For example, the book Sauna Studies from Helsinki Congress in 1974 is one of the basic books for many different subjects. The Aachen Congress in 1999 in Germany was also very important, and the big book from that Congress is used widely. Please note also that in Aachen, we finalized the specification for sauna after many years discussions with the leadership of German Sauna Bund and Finnish Sauna Society. Besides the presentations, the congresses have included sauna tours and visits, etc. In actual case, this is very important part to the Congress because it gives an option to the participants and presenters to discuss and get to know each other from different parts of the world. These connections have been an important part for the development of International Sauna Association from a few member organization to its present situation with over 30 members representing over 20 countries from New Zealand to USA. The next Congress, which is in the row number 19, has been given to Norway, and it is happening in the autumn of 2026. The more detailed information is coming from the Norwegian Sauna Society during this spring. We anyway already know that sauna and health is going to be one of the main topics. ISA has several types of members. The national members are the most important ones and do have the power to manage ISA. They are typically local national sauna societies, etc. organizations that have applied the membership. The board of ISA is accepting the membership. There is only one national member possible from one country. In case of several applications, the others can get the supporting membership status. The national members do elect the president and the board of directors. The term from now on is 2 years. And really, today we have 20 national members, few applications are pending. And the board is very international, having seven national members represented. And this means that we are covering a very big part of this sauna world also in the board. The national members are very different in size and activity. The biggest ones just now are German Sauna Bund, Japan Sauna and Spa Association, Norwegian Sauna Society, and Finnish Sauna Society. But the situation seems to be changing. And for example, the Norwegian Sauna Society is something that has been growing during the last few years from a reasonable small to one of the biggest you can find. Finnish Sauna Society, Austrian Sauna Forum, Sauna Bund, and the Japan Sauna and Spa Association have a special category called founding members. They pay higher membership fee and have also double amount of votes when electing the board members. And these members have been members from this new starting point 1977 all the years. In several countries, there has been interest of several organizations to be a member in ISA. But because of the fact that there is a national member, only one national member possible, we have been accepting some supporting members. The main difference between the supporting member and the national member is that supporting member has no voting right. But the supporting members give to ISA direct contact with the big players in the industry because several of the supporting members are actually coming from the sauna industry itself. And today we have 10 supporting members. There is also an option for private members, and we have some sauna enthusiasts as private members. We have also invited honorary members, meaning people who have been very important for the sauna culture and development of good sauna. Matti Kivinen is an old person inside ISA. He was also president, etc., and he is the oldest honorary member. Then we have Mr. Sauna, Mikkel Aaland, as the honorary member, Mr. Smoke Sauna, Risto Elomaa from Finland, and as a new member from Germany, Dr. Rainer Brenke, who has been working with sauna research and health nearly 30 years in Germany. If you are interested about the bylaws or information about the members, that is available on the website of ISA. As the bylaws say, ISA should promote scientific studies of the sauna with aspects such as medicine, history, folklore, technology, and economy. Earlier, there has been a lot of research going on in different parts of the world. The biggest countries being Finland and Germany for a long time. A lot of this material has been published either in the International Sauna Archive or in the material publishing the presentations of the International Sauna Congresses, either as printed material or in digital form. Originally, in the bylaws, it was also proposed that ISA is collecting material about sauna and organizing a library, but there has not been resources enough for that. Anyway, some material is collected. But one problem is anyway the language and translations, because a major part of the material is in other language than English. For example, the excellent material in the International Sauna Archive is mainly in German, and because the material is available only in printed form, the translation is not very easy, and anyway does cost money. We are actually talking with few authorities about the possibilities to get International Sauna Archive digital, and so making it possible both translations and using the search engines. If you do know sources for financing of this kind of work, please let us know. We have been discussing with the European Union, but there is no clear answer to that, so that we could get money. Sauna and health, including also mental health, has been the topic of many research projects and in actual case, after the publishing of the first report from the Finnish Dr. Jari Laukkanen at JAMAC 2015, there has been a lot of papers published. Luckily, that material is available, and for example, in PubMed, etc. Archives. And if you are interested, you can find the addresses of these links to these archives from the website of ISA. But naturally, for example, PubMed is available. You just go to Google and then you find PubMed, and then you put there the search words and add sauna, and then you start to get hundreds of articles. One important thing in the research results is the specification for the saunas used, as well as the protocols. Dr. Fritsche already was very interested to prepare protocols in 60s that these protocols could have been used globally, and so make sure that the different results can be comparable. But these protocols were never accepted widely. And this is why ISA is planning to get these kind of protocols written and then accepted, at least inside the ISA members. This is important. I mean, the protocols are important, for example, to make sure that the results in the real sauna and in an infrared cabins are not comparable without further research. And this kind of comparing research has not been done enough, so that we cannot say that the benefits of a real sauna are the same also in infrared cabin. We have to remember that all the results basically from the Finnish and German research are from a real sauna. And really, ESA has decided that this kind of protocols should be available at the latest in the Congress, which we are going to have in 2026. The stove development is especially important for the wood-fired stoves. The new requirements in EU, European Union, for the small particle emission does require new ideas in the stoves. And the International Sauna Association is involved in that work as an observer. So we hope that we can distribute then the information that the development projects are bringing in. And ISA is also following what is happening, for example, in the energy saving, etc. subjects. And this was one of the subjects in the last Congress. Several presentations were talking about the energy savings. And in some countries, this energy saving for saunas is quite an important thing because energy prices have been going up. ISA and several of its members have been and are also involved in several standardization programs. The main work is going on with the stoves, both wood-fired and electrical, and both in Europe and in USA. There is also a project group inside European Union that started the standardization of public saunas. Some of the ISA members are involved, and in that way, ISA is also involved in. Then, what is the future of the sauna? I was writing a few words about it, but then there came out a very interesting brand new report just 2 weeks ago. And that is the report from Global Wellness Institute with the name The Future of Wellness 2025 Trends. And there is a special part about sauna, some 25 pages. And the basic thing in this report says that sauna is doing well also in the future, as the report says in that special part with the name A Global Renaissance of Ancient Tradition. And the figures which were shown in that report are really very big. Just a second. And the most important thing in that report is saying that the growth for sauna industry is about 7% annually for the next 5 years. What important is that we make sure that the saunas are constructed correctly and have a good low steam so that we can enjoy all the benefits of the sauna. For that purpose, we need documentation, and there ISA has been active and supporting some good book projects. And that is what we are doing also in the future. There has been happening many changes in the industry, and we do not see yet is this changing the strategy of those companies. I mean, with these changes, I mean the changes of ownership of, for example, big stove manufacturers, big sauna companies, and also big sauna and spa complexes. If you follow, for example, some of the literature. So you have seen that during the last 2 years, there has been really major changes. And one thing what is interesting there, that several of the big players have been finding new owners in United States instead of Europe. As ISA, as it was mentioned earlier, so we have members from New Zealand to United States and basically all the sauna countries there in between. ISA is not interested in direct business as such, but we would like to get information about products, saunas, etc. And we would like to also test certain things and say if something is good or excellent or if something is bad. And also in the congresses, for example, we have been having presentations talking about the construction of the saunas, and also in the next Congress there is going to be a separate part where we are talking about constructing good saunas. And the next Congress is going to be also interesting to show what these big changes have been meaning for the industry. As I said earlier, so there cannot be a good sauna without a good löyly. This is valid both in Australia, Japan, in Europe, and also in US. And one important thing is that all the people who are sometimes having a sauna, they are able to have a good sauna so that they can know how enjoyable a good sauna with good löyly is compared to some very poor ones, which we unfortunately find in many places. And for me, a good sauna is part of my life. And this I'm trying to introduce to the people inside ISA, but also when ISA is informing the other people about the sauna. And we have the website, we have also LinkedIn pages and things like that. And naturally, the office of ISA is always available for questions. We try to answer to your questions, but we are not any kind of specialist giving instructions for the construction of the saunas. We just say that what books could be good for that. And you find many of those books, their advertisements on our website. I think I'm not using more time. I would like to discuss with you if you have questions directly concerning the ISA itself, its work, or also maybe concerning some of the members. I understood that major part of you are from the North America. ISA is maybe much better known in other parts of the world, and especially in Europe, because the ISA was quite a long time working mainly in Europe. But we have to remember one thing concerning US. Actually, the North American Sauna Association, which is our member there, has been available from 2002. But before that, there was many years also American Sauna Society, which disappeared, if I remember correct, in '96. And they were very active also in Europe, and in congresses there were presentations from the United States. For some reason, those people have been disappeared, and I've been trying to find some of them, but have not been successful. So please, if you have any questions, I can try to answer here, or we can do that as an email later on.
Wonderful, Risto. Thank you so much for the history. I think there are a few questions that we could take here from the chat, but one thing that strikes me from your presentation is that we're stepping into quite a history of sauna culture here, right? For many in the United States, it sort of seems like, and maybe not everyone in our audience, we have many Finnish Americans, we have many Finns, we have many international here today. But from the US perspective, oftentimes it seems like, oh, sauna is this sort of new thing on the scene, which is, you know, sort of far from the truth worldwide. So that's sort of my takeaway from your presentation when you were talking about sort of the beginnings of the International Sauna Association and the names and the players that have been in this conversation in Finland and Germany, and then later on in Japan and all over the world, that really the new frontier in some ways seems to be the North American audience here, where it's gaining popularity. I don't know if you had any comments on that.
Yeah, well, first of all, concerning North America, we have to remember that the first saunas in North America, they were actually most probably coming together with the immigrants from Finland or from Sweden or even from Norway. Mm. And actually, I was 2 weeks ago in a big sauna festival in Oslo together with the Norwegian Sauna Association. I met there also intendant of Finnskogen Museum from Norway, and they have few old smoke saunas there, and they have been trying to find when the people from Finnskogen, which is on Norwegian side and on the Swedish side, when they started actually to move from that area to North America, because in Finnskogen there was not any more forest to be burned for farming. And at least sometimes in 1850 to 60, there was quite a big group of people moving there, and some of the in the Finnskogen Museum, they have pictures from those smoke saunas which have been there in United States.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, it's really, and we have a session later on even this week sort of focused on saunas of the Copper Country in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. But you're absolutely right. This sort of sauna belt that we have in the US and into Canada, of course, is highly connected to the immigration with Finnish immigrants who came to the Northeast and then the Upper Midwest, and you could sort of follow that across their migration pattern. So that is an interesting connection.
Yeah, but because then you have your original bathing culture. I mean, the sweat lodges, which has nothing to do with the immigration, and which is also a very interesting part of the North American sweat bathing.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. It's created some like fusions, right? There's all these bathing culture sort of, it's almost a spectrum from the world of different influences that have sort of impacted the bathing culture in different parts of the world. There's these commonalities, right? But there's things that make each type sort of unique and geographically specific. And I'm sure you've seen all kinds of that sort of thing in your work with the International Sauna Association. One interesting comment we have in here, though, it seems like we've reached people in Australia even. Drew Nate or Knight, good morning. We recently formed the Australian Sauna Association and are a proud new member of ISA. We plan to foster authentic sauna practice. How have you found sauna progression over the last 5 years? Where do you see the changes? So very cool that Australia is on board. Any comments to that, Risto?
Well, first of all, I'm thinking, is it Nikita who is from Australia?
The person who wrote the comments, Drew.
Actually, Australia has been very active, and there were a few people who were active in the research And for example, in the Congress in Kukkola in 2018, they were publishing several interesting results. And just now, the thing is such that they have been establishing a new organization which has been taking several old sauna societies under the same umbrella. And I'm looking forward that Australia is going to be very interesting sauna country in the future. But there is also an interesting thing to remember that especially in the some areas in Australia, the sauna culture is also taken there by immigrants from Finland. And there are still few sauna manufacturers having the pure Finnish names of the companies, especially in the area of Melbourne, because in Melbourne there was 1956, the Olympic Games, and to the Olympic Games, the Finnish team was bringing some saunas also.
Mm.
And the situation in Australia, in my opinion, concerning sauna is very interesting. But we have to remember that they have also this hot spring culture there, and that's very strong. And actually, the organizations behind the hot spring culture are also now supporting sauna culture. So it's going to be a joint effort in the future.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it really interesting, the connections about Finnish sauna being a real cultural export of Finland, whether it was in Australia, the United States, how it's really sort of connected to that. And then, like you said, the hot springs culture. I'm from Montana, and of course, there's a lot of tall tales about hot springs right outside of Yellowstone Park as well that have been a part of sort of the local lore and culture for years as well. So there are these sort of fusions with bathing culture. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you have to remember that hot spring naturally is one of the most important bathing methods still in Japan.
Mm.
And actually, hot spring, together with the hot springs, the sauna culture has been growing. I mean, you have in many places, you have a hot spring and then you have a sauna.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Risto. We're getting toward the end here. There's all kinds of interesting comments in the chat that I think people should scroll through. We've shared a couple times the link to International Sauna Association, North American Sauna Society. Get a hold of us if anybody wants more information. We are at Finlandia Foundation, always happy to connect. Lynn Williamson put in a plug for an event coming up Saturday in Canterbury with the Finnish American Heritage Society. That's wonderful. There's all kinds of local events going on with our Finlandia Foundation community across the country this week for Sauna Week. So that's amazing. Maybe the last question we'll take, maybe Risto, if you have a quick answer to this, came from Michael Calcagno about what, thanking you for your hard work, but in your opinion, what are the biggest concern that keeps you up at night as it relates to the future of sauna? Do you have a concern like that, Risto?
Yes and no. Let's say so that just now there's quite many things happening, and it's interesting to see after half a year or after 1 year which direction we are going. Okay, naturally, just now there are so many other things happening. I mean, we all are seeing from the TV everything what is happening in Europe. And one thing we have to keep in mind that Ukraine used to be a very interesting sauna country.
Mm.
And just now we don't know, is it going to be a sauna country ever again? But I don't have a clear answer to that just now.
Yeah. Well, we'll let you think on it. Maybe you could get back to us, but I want to use this as a segue, Risto, because you mentioned a little bit at the beginning, but maybe you want to talk for another 2 minutes, maybe on Sauna Aid. That really brings that really brings, in some ways, that may be one of the things that keeps people up at night, and Sauna Aid sort of being formed to address that. But I wanted to ask if you had any last words or a plug for Sauna Aid before we do the raffle here.
First of all, about Sauna Aid, so Mikkel Aaland is going to have his presentation, and he is going to talk about that. But Sauna Aid is something that we try to help people in different situations with sauna. And actually, one of the first cases was happening in Fukushima in Japan, where people lost their homes, and they were transferred to mountains, and we brought to them saunas where they could wash themselves and wash their clothes, and we were able to keep the saunas warm because there was no electricity, but we were bringing to these places wood-fired stoves. Mm. And when this war in Ukraine started, so the 23rd of February, Mikkel Aaland called me and said that now we start to bring saunas to Ukraine. And I said, yes, that's what we are going to do. And we started to collect money with this Sauna Aid. And the key person has been all the time Mikkel Aaland, who has been writing material. And I think Kari Laukkarinen was already showing the Sauna Aid webpage there in the chat. So there you can see more about that. So the whole idea is that we are bringing saunas mainly to civilians in Ukraine, small villages, etc. But we have been bringing also a few saunas to the military because we have had some medics from Ukraine here in Scandinavia having a 1-week holiday, and they have been telling us that saunas there in the front, they are very important because people want to wash themselves, and in Ukraine it's also cold, so if you have a warm sauna you can go in there. Yeah. And on that web page which Kari was showing there is also a link where you can donate money, and that goes to the Sauna Aid Foundation, which we were founding few months ago. I don't remember exactly when it was officially opened, but it has its office in San Francisco, and the president of that organization is Mikkel Aaland, and we have then board members both from US and from UK, etc. And our next sauna is leaving for Ukraine in the end of this week.
Wow. Wow, Risto, really thank you for all of that work and explaining. And we have Mikkel Aaland coming. Well, he's here today watching, so it's good to have you watching, Mikkel. It really is. And thank you all for this work. And yes, Kari Laukkarinen posted the link. Minea posted the link. There will be more on this, I think, mentioned on Saturday when we talk with Mikkel as well. So Risto, really, thank you so much for this. It's really great. The sauna is a place of true healing and peace and restoration, and sort of the role cannot be understated. So we're sort of at time now. We're going to go a little over. Huge thanks, kiitos Risto, for International Sauna Association.